Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about the books I'm currently reading, but also a small ongoing TBR I have for NonFiction November. So we're currently in a month-long read-along called NonFiction November, which is hosted by Olive from a book Olive. And she hosts this read-along every year with the aim to read more nonfiction books. I'm in such a nonfiction reading mood that I was like, perfect, I'm just gonna read some more. But also I went to the library, and because of the US election, they had this huge table of nonfiction books about the US. And I think I picked up like 4 or 5 books from that table. It was a bit wild days at the library. Oh well. You have to you have to get joy from wherever you can, I guess. So I'm hoping to get to these non-fiction books. Also, it's the middle of November, so I'm pretty confident I'm gonna get to at least some of these. But let's start with the books I'm currently reading. And the first one of those is one I was pretty excited to pick up, and it is Riley Sager's newest release, Home Before Dark. So I think I previously read all of Riley Sager's books, and I can say I was a bit unsure whether it's this is the type of author or writing I like. But I was like, I'm gonna give the author one more chance, because everyone seems to be raving about this one. And I have to say, I have started it as an audiobook and I couldn't get through it. I don't know, I just didn't have time to finish it. And then my library had it in physical form, and I quickly put myself on the waiting list, and I didn't have to wait too long, and now it's in. And I think I read like 200 pages, and it's quite long. It's about 400 pages, and I'm so hooked. It's crazy. So this book is about this haunted house which was bought by a family, so mother, a father, and a small child, a girl of 6 or 5 years old. So they went to live, and then something happened and they had to flee the house after like 20 days. And now it's like 25 years later, the girl actually inherited the house from her parents. And she goes back to fix it up and try to sell it. Also, this is a notoriously haunted house, and the father wrote a non-fiction book about it, which became kind of sensational. So everyone knows her because of this book. So she goes back to fix it up, but also she goes back because she wants to know what happened, because she cannot remember. It is so interesting. I'm so hooked. I'm so freaked. Also, because this goes back and forth in time, so it's in alternate chapters. One chapter is the present, where we follow her fixing the house and creepy stuff happening and stuff. And then we follow the past, which is told from the point of view of the father. I think those are kind of the chapters from the book he wrote. So it's so addictive, and I really understand why people love this book. So if you want to pick something spooky or something chilly, or I don't know, it's like a mystery, I would say, then this is definitely the one. I hope it's gonna be good throughout, and I'm gonna enjoy it, because then I would say this is my favorite Riley Sager book. So I'm excited to finish this, and I think I'm gonna do it maybe in the next couple of days, because it's just such a fast read. And the next book is also one from the library. I'm not only 50 pages in, but this one I think is also quite a quick read. And this is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad. So I picked this up as part of a list I have about racism. So this year there were I think there's a lot of focus on Black Lives Matter, of course, in the US, in light of what's happening and what happened. And there were a lot of lists going around about books you should read on this topic, and this was one of them. So I decided to pick it up. And It is subtitled How to Recognize Your Privilege, Combat Racism, and Change the World. So I was actually surprised when I started reading this, because it said that this book is based basically on an Instagram challenge, so like a month-long challenge, where each day you kind of read about the subject and you think about it, and try to see how you can learn to change your behavior or be better, or I don't know. And this is the way the book is structured as well. So basically you have day one, where, for example, you talk about or you read about you and white privilege, and then it discusses what white privilege is, and then how does it show up, and there's also some reflective journaling prompts at the end to kind of, you can write down stuff and kind of do a journal based on this book. So I don't know, it seems quite an interesting and short read. So I think if you're kind of new to the subject, then this would be a great one to pick up. And then I have the 3 books I want to read as part of NonFiction November. And I picked all of these up at the library. So I hope I can extend some of them. Otherwise, I don't know if I can manage to read all 3 in the second half of November. But the first one, and I think the one I'm most excited about, is Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century by Jessica Bruder. So this one is about people moving to vans and moving to live in trailers as the aftermath of the financial crisis, when a lot of people lost their houses. So I guess a lot of people lost their jobs and houses, and they had to find a different way of living in order to make ends meet, I guess. So a lot of these people started living in vans and just driving from one place to another in order to find job. So kind of like seasonal workers. Like, it's quite an interesting topic. And I don't know much else about it, but I think I'm gonna love it. It also says in the back that Nomadland is a testament both to the generosity and creativity of the victims of our modern medieval economy, hidden in plain sight, and to the blunt and brutality that put them there. Is this the best the wealthiest nation on earth can do for those who've already done so much? So I'm pretty sure this is going to be interesting. The next book I have is Global Discontent by Noam Chomsky. And this looks at the global situation, at internationalization, and just like the situation all over the world. And the subtitle is Conversations on the Rising Threats to Democracy. So it sounds quite interesting. It says, what kind of world are we leaving to our grandchildren? How are the discontents kindled today likely to blaze and explode tomorrow? So I just think this is going to be interesting because it's going to look at global events. It's going to be the author's view, but also I think it's intertwined with the author's past and his evolution as an author, and I guess as someone who talks about these issues. So it looks like it's written in like interview format with questions and answers. So I'm excited to see how this will go. And then the end, I have a really, really big one. It doesn't look so big, but the writing is really small in this one. And it is The End of the Myth by Grandin. And I really don't know a lot about this, but the subtitle says it's From the Frontier to the Border Wall in the Mind of America. So I think this is kind of like a history of the United States, the frontier mentality, which still influences, I guess, it has its influence and its mark on society, American society today. And I haven't read a lot about what this is, but I think there's this quote in the back which is really great. It says, this book is an extraordinarily incisive look at the myths that Americans have used to evade our real situation and the responsibilities we might have as members of a democracy. It is also a rich, illuminating and unsettling retelling of American history and of the countercurrents we might still draw on to build a deeper and better democracy. So It sounds interesting. I have never read History of the United States before. But I think there's always something about that frontier world and that mentality which is kind of appealing, and you see it over and over in different movies and documentaries and how that nation was built, and such. So I think this is gonna be interesting. And looking at the Goodreads reviews, I think people really, really seem to like this. So I think I'm gonna enjoy it as well. So I hope all of these nonfiction books are not gonna be too dry and boring and academic. But I'm pretty good at looking up and reading a paragraph or two before picking them up, just to be sure that it's not too academic, because I really don't enjoy those type of books. I think I want my nonfiction to read as fiction, more or less. So these are the nonfiction books I have for Nonfiction November. But let me know if you're also participating and what books are you picking up for this. I think it's such a great read along, and especially great because it's a whole month long read along. So even if you don't want to participate or the whole month, you can just pick one book and read throughout the month or here and there and just be part of it. Anyway, so these are all the books I have, and I think after this I'm gonna go a bit easier on nonfiction. Maybe read a few memoirs. I don't know, time will tell. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.